Hi, guys. Welcome to A Little Bit of Woo. I'm your host, Jill Thomas. Welcome. I'm so glad you came. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, the first thing I want to say is kind of what's on everybody's mind is what happened with Charlie Kirk, and it is very sad. I will be the first to admit, like a lot of people, he wasn't my guy. I didn't love his messaging, but it is sad when you think about these kids. They went to this event. They think they were going to see their favorite pundit, their favorite speaker, and instead they witnessed a crime, a tragic crime. It's very, very sad. I'm sorry for his family. I'm sorry for a voice ending that had a perspective that I personally don't agree with. But like a lot of people, two things can exist at once in my mind. I'm sorry that this happened, and also I didn't love what his messaging was. I think it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel like you're really sad that this happened. I don't wish ill on anyone, even people whose opinions I greatly disagree with, like this guy. But it's very sad, and I'm also very concerned about the anger and how this is going on both sides. The gaslighting, like this is the fault of the Democrats or this is the fault of Republicans. I feel like we may be seeing more targeting of Democrats over this, because the vitriol is quite loudly saying it's all their fault. Um, whose fault is it? Well, that's for you to decide for yourself, not for someone like myself. Um, at this point, at the time of this recording, 12:30, they're still trying to find this guy. I do believe that they know who it is. I do believe they know who it is when I tune in, and that's why I feel it. When I try to tune into the guy himself, though, and it is a guy, they have pictures they've sent around the internet. Um, I can't pick him up. So I feel like there's a non-zero chance that he's not on the planet anymore. Having said that, this video is being provided for entertainment purposes only. I am not a doctor, a lawyer, stock portfolio manager, and I am not an investigator. So and sometimes, quite frankly, I'm just plain wrong. So this is allegedly here. I'm not picking him up. So I would say there's a decent chance that he's not on the planet, or he's being shielded somehow, or I don't know. I'm not getting him. But by the time you watch this, he may have the whole thing may have even been resolved, because I'm recording this on Thursday, 9/11 at 12:30 Pacific. So there you go. That's what I want to say on that. And it is a very sad situation. I do feel like, and I know I make a joke about this every Friday, that there's going to be a Friday Quazy. Usually some kind of an executive order that affects the markets, that happens like after markets have closed. I do feel like that's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know if it's tomorrow or the next Friday, but there's going to be something that will be kind of a data grab, like, hey, we don't want this to happen again. So we're going to initiate all of these things to grab even more information on people that might be responsible, who are, largely not responsible. I do feel like we're going to be seeing more of that. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of the anger and vitriol that's happening. We are in a place where we're between two eclipses. Jacqueline Holton was on a show like last week, and she talked about this. So you should watch that episode. It was really good. But now, between now and September 21st, we're going to be seeing more, I would say, unhinged types of things in the news. It's really sad, but I think that's going to be part of what's happening in the near future. Okay, you guys. Um, yeah, gosh, and I would hate to say this again. Have to say this again, but dust off your thoughts and prayers speech, politicians, because it's time for another one. We've had another pew pew event at a school in Colorado, the same day as the Charlie Kirk event, so it got kind of buried. It's very sad. We're going to be hearing a lot of, hand wringing, and we need to have legislation, and this is all somebody's fault, and they're not doing enough. And then the other side saying, hey, now's not the right time. And the side saying, yes, it is the right time. You guys have heard this conversation like 80 times, which is sad, right? Sad. You're going to hear it again. Somebody's going to trudge out some old legislation from a drawer. Nothing meaningful is going to happen. The point I'm making here isn't just to be not woo woo on a woo woo show. I see that we are going to have some legislation happening, but it isn't for a while. It feels like I can see it on the horizon intuitively. It feels like it's like at least 10 years out. There's going to be some gun control. I don't know if it has to do with just the tracking of it, or if there's tracking devices included in the new firearms. I don't know. There's some kind of tracking thing happening that's going to happen, I feel like, in the next 10, 12 years. I don't really see us being I don't really see our firearms being taken away in the US. It's kind of part of the American culture. I know people have said that's not possible. There's actually more of them here than there are people. And I see that continuing for another 10 years. So, however you feel about that issue, I do feel like nothing meaningful is going to change for a while. States are going to pass individual laws that are largely going to be ignored because, we don't have these like metal boundaries around each state. Um, and there I do feel like there may be some effort on the federal level to keep, like, individual states from enacting their own rules. I know in some states you can have these racks on the back of a truck, in other states you can't, which is kind of interesting when you're not used to it and you drive to a state where they're allowed to have these gun racks in the back of the truck. I'm like, "What?" It was a little jarring, but, it's just part of the culture of the community. Well, it's more than that, but there you go. But I don't see anything meaningful. But bottom line, I don't see anything meaningful happening for a while. Now, the other thing I did want to talk about though is what's happening. I get a lot of people asking me about these drone strikes. I'm sorry, the drones that were found in Poland. And intuitively, I got a weird message on this, and I'm just gonna put this out there, you guys. I might be wrong, but I feel like it was intentional. I don't feel like they actually intended to do any harm. It does feel like there was some spying happening, but I almost feel like it was intended to scare, and then it to get countries to arm up. Now, what happens when they arm up? They have to go buy this stuff. They have to go buy these things. Um, Certain countries benefit more than others from this buying of stuff. I do also feel like there was a political involvement. It's like if we get countries to start spending money they don't have on munitions, then they will be financially more weak. It feels like there's some bigger game at play here. That's just my take on it. But I don't see, if the question is Europe going to war right now? I don't see that happening. I really don't. I feel like there's going to be some disputes over, boundaries, the things that's always happening. Um, at least for in the immediate future. I would say, maybe 2026 there might be some stuff, but I don't see anything right now. So if you're in one of those countries like Poland and you're scared, I'm really sorry that that's part of your existence. I don't see anything happening. Do your due diligence, have your extra supplies, be smart, but be worried. Yeah, you can't help but worry when something like this happens. But I feel like it's going to be okay. At least in the immediate future, I feel like it's going to be okay, you guys. I really do. Um, I would also like to say, oh my gosh, you guys, I've never wanted Trey Parker and Matt Stone to be watching a piece of video more in my life than I did when I saw that Zuckerberg hot mic clip. So, if for those of you who don't know, for some reason, people, when they're attached to a mic, don't realize they are, and they don't realize they're being recorded all the time, you guys. So Zuckerberg, Google it when you get a chance, but Zuckerberg was at an event at the White House, and he said that he was going to be investing like 60 billion with a B dollars in the US through 2028. And first of all, as a side note, I thought that's an insane amount of money. Like there's no way that Meta is worth that. I Googled it. According to the Google as of today, Meta is worth $1.9 trillion, by the way, in market capital. Okay, so yes, they are good for it. Anyway, later on, he was heard on a hot mic recording saying, "I wasn't sure what number you wanted to go with." So it was funny because he was telling 47 that he just wanted to make sure he got the number right, because he obviously had talked about it in advance. What number he was going to say in front of a national audience. I thought that was really funny. I do hope that South Park puts that in the next video, by the way, you guys. The other thing, though, along those same lines, is that if you haven't already, you guys know I follow macroeconomics, and I looked at the benchmark revisions are released once a year, which kind of correct everything the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, puts out for the past year. And these benchmark revisions came in from March 2024 to March 2025 as the largest benchmark revisions ever. And the number was 911,000 jobs that BLS said weren't there. And it's kind of funny because I felt like it was a little bit of, just my opinion, a little bit of a passive aggressive part on their part, because Trump just fired the head of the department. 911, they didn't want to like round it up to 912 or round it down to 910. They made it 911. I mean, that might actually have been the exact number, but I did find it kind of funny because I know people like to do passive aggressive behavior, so I thought that was sort of interesting. So basically, mostly during the Biden administration, we lost a whole mess of jobs. And every time that jobs number was released, it was, something like 80,000 jobs a month less than it said. Just to put it in perspective, the second highest benchmark revision happened the year before, which is roughly around 800,000. This was also during the Biden administration. Yeah, you guys don't need me to tell you that jobs have been removed from the system. I have lots of clients that are looking for jobs who maybe they had a severance package. Maybe their company decided to do the whole come back to work in the office after you bought a house in another state business and do it in like 7 days or quit. Here's a severance package. Those people don't always show up on unemployment statistics, and they just don't always show up in the data because sometimes they have a year, and the company itself would say, well, this person's still employed. We're still paying them. And the person themselves would say, I don't have a job. They just gave me a little bit of money to go away. Right. That's what I'm saying is happening. You guys know that we're going to be hearing a recession call later. And this is the wording that you're going to get. This isn't necessarily intuitive. This is just from experience. It's going to be something like, it's over, you guys. Look, you missed it. It's over. It already happened. We're on our way back to health. It's great. You need to be sensible about money. You need to be paying attention to how you use your resources. I would just say a lot of people are getting, and I've seen this from the readings I'm doing with clients, is they're getting a soul call to do something else. They're getting a soul call to look at other things in their life that make them happier. Finding a way to do more with less, and finding ways of answering a soul call to create a new career or a side hustle or something else for themselves that makes them happy. When you're getting those soul calls, don't just focus just on your job, focus on both. Like, how can I have both things and be happy? And I think you can have a decent bill payer. I've had a really good one, for many years, and not right now, but I loved it. I was making good money. And then I also did the psychic readings. It's just fun too. You can have all of that. Allow yourself to have all of that. The reason I bring this up is because it could get chunkier. And I feel like a lot of people in September are using this chaotic energy between these two eclipses to get inspirations. The other thing that's coming up for a lot of people is that people are getting ideas of places they want to move. And you start to see those things months, sometimes years before it's actually the right time to make a change like that. Just pay attention to it. For some of you, you need to go shopping for a new place to live, looking around, new city, maybe a new environment, maybe a place to meet new people. Pay attention to those soul callings, because right now, you're starting to get a lot of them. A lot of people are getting a lot more intuitive information going on, you guys. I'm seeing a lot of it. I want to talk a little bit about that Hyundai back and forth that's going on at that Hyundai factory where ICE came in and just arrested all these people and put some of them in shackles. It's interesting because when I tune into that intuitively, I feel like they're both lying a bit here. I feel like Hyundai knew they weren't doing this the right way, and ICE knew that they were kind of costing a situation. It was something that Biden had set up, had made a deal with the Hyundai factory to get them to do these electric vehicles in the U.S. I do feel like both sides were wrong. Having said that, Hyundai's argument that our system is too difficult to navigate and they couldn't figure out like what kind of visas to get doesn't entirely hold water either. I do feel like some of those people, not all of them, I do feel like some of them are going to be allowed to stay, at least to finish. They're going to work something out, because the great state of Georgia doesn't want this factory to go away either. It wasn't set to open right away, but for those of you who didn't watch this on TV, they arrested about, I think, 400 South Korean workers who were setting up a factory that was supposed to produce electric vehicles in the U.S. for the Hyundai company. And they were supposed to be training people and setting up factories. We don't set up a lot of factories here. We don't necessarily know how to do it. That's what these people had come to the U.S. to do. And they came in, some of them came on very different visas. There were several different categories of visas they were showing. I feel like when I tune in that they're both lying. I'm just going to say it. I think that it's a he said, she said, and there's not a clear right or wrong in this. I think everybody's wrong. But I do see it getting resolved. Okay. And some of them staying. And I do feel like they employed as many American workers as they could have? No, I feel like they took a chance to like not employ as many American workers. Maybe they didn't want to deal with it. United Auto Workers Union. I don't know. feels like there was something in there, but I think that's going to get resolved. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say on the Epstein files is what a hit I was getting, and I've said this before. I mean, we all kind of suspect or believe that Israel and Russia have a lot of this information, but I still come back to Scotland Yard. I feel like Scotland Yard has a lot of it too. And I feel like they were following Uncle Andrew, the creepy Uncle Andrew of the royal family. They were also following Ghislaine Maxwell because she was a British citizen whose father already had been in quite a bit of trouble with the UK government. I do feel like they've got a lot of it too. And I think they may like quietly, maybe even through not anonymous, but something similar, release like little bits of information here. Lots of people are kind of organizations are sort of conspiring to release little bits of information. I feel like it's not going to come from one source. I feel like, some of it might come from the UK, some of it might come from Israel, and it might be intentional because they don't want any one person that they can be sued for releasing this data, allegedly. And there's a lot of names in there. And I still don't feel like we're going to get all of it. I feel like we're going to get, a chunk of it. And it's become a rallying point for the political parties, involved. Having said that, do I think we're going to get everything? No, I just don't. Last thing I wanted to leave you with was I pulled some cards for the time in between, September, the 2 September eclipses. And I want to say with cards, we all have our own interpretations of them. Certain cards mean something to me that don't mean something to the rest of the collective. So I'll just show you and use your own intuition and feel this out because you might have a different take on it. The first card I pulled was the 4 of Swords, which is kind of a collective healing. We're kind of pulling into taking a pause, healing. It has a little bit of a hermit feeling to it. Okay. Temperance is sort of taking things that are going on and tempering them. It's also a little bit of don't overdo it, don't overdrink, don't over anything, but tempering emotions, tempering and getting it peaceful and kind of getting within yourself and tempering what the natural impulse is, right? Don't be so quick to anger right now. Okay. Judgment is a great card because it can mean a lot of things. It can mean there will be some literal legal judgment happening during this time period, but it's also a resurrection, like something being lost and then something coming back again in a different form. I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of individual resurrections, like maybe some idea that you had in the past and you didn't follow through on it. It's going to come back around and say, hey, when I asked you to write that book, I meant it. Okay. Not so hard to write. It's actually really hard to write a book, but not so hard to get it published anymore. Like you can actually just put it up on Amazon. It's not hard. Yes, it is. And no, it's not at the same time. Okay. Worry about people stealing, worry about people taking more than they share, worry, basically. I'm not going to tell you shouldn't. I'm just telling you that's what's in the collective right now. I personally think you should stop watching the news and instead watch cat vision videos. There's also a video channel I really like called Refashioned Hippie. She does a lot of marketing fails, just these cute little shorts. I love that stuff. Like her line is 13-year-old boy needs to look at these, marketing things that people put out. Watch that. Watch cat videos. Play with your own cat. Go in the yard. Do some yoga. I love yoga. Yoga by Adrienne. There you go. It's free. I'm just saying. Time to step out of the worry and do something productive. Okay. Page of Swords is kind of a cutting through. It's also young people getting excited, new energy. It can be a lot of things. It can be this sort of clearing a little bit of misinformation, I think can happen with the Page of Swords. Feel that one out. King of Cups. Strong, powerful healer. A lot of you guys are being called to tune into your healer selves, your healer sides, tune into your emotions and feel what you're feeling. And then let life go on and move forward from that and ground. Okay. I would encourage all of us to do that. I would say also that there's a lot of negative energy out there right now. You guys are feeling it. You guys are experiencing it. Do something to counterbalance that in these next 2 weeks if you can. Donate some money to charity. Be kind to someone. Let someone tell you about all of their problems. And just be the shoulder to cry on. Do some good during this period of time so we can counterbalance some of the negative. I know it's hard to see it this way, but honestly, the light is so much more powerful than the dark. It really is. And it doesn't take as much to do a lot of good. And if we all shift our energy and shift into a more positive mindset and do something kind for someone else. I love to give to food banks. I feel like they're literally starving for food, and helping your neighbor in that very personal way by feeding them, it helps feels like a really good way to give to the community, but you have your own things, and I think you should do it. And also, I booked somebody that I'm excited to have on. She's gonna be in a couple of weeks, Deborah Lupian. I probably said her name wrong. Please forgive me, Deborah. You can correct me when you come on in a couple of weeks. But she's the voice of the Akashic Records, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to say about what's going on in the world. And we're going to see her in a couple of weeks. And on that note, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me when you guys do that. And I'll be back on Sunday. And I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Do something good and have a great day. Okay. Bye bye. Bye, guys.